Okay, so this video we're going to talk about the lack of self and the becoming of a Buddhist, which I think are kind of intertwined because it's the essence of Buddhism. Um, we have this doctrine that is really, and I'm calling it a doctrine. Um, there's really no like hard fast doctrines in the sense of you have to believe this or you get out, right? We talked about that, separating Buddhism from other religions, but there is this, and it's really part of the Four Noble Truths. Is the lack of self, uh, is something that, um, as far as I am aware, no other religion teaches something similar to this. So the no self, and I do not know how to pronounce the word properly, but if you look it up, and you'll see uh, the a lot of people will refer to the original word from the original language. Um, the I think it was the word is ANATTA, but with a line over the second A, or the third A rather, if I'm remembering correctly. At any rate, the idea was that we don't have um, a self. Okay, so, and which is really hard to fathom, because when we are thinking about who I am, my sense of self, and just about any other religion or any other philosophy, regardless of what you believe, our sense of self is very, very important to us. And this idea that there is no self in Buddhism really kind of throws us for a loop sometimes, like sitting there trying to understand that. And when and they go through, the Buddha goes through in his teachings, um, talking about the levels of existence, and the things that we do to sense our existence, to try to help us understand this. And you can make an analogy to, like, let's say a house or a table or a car. And let's just take one of those. Let's just take a car. And what makes it a car is all the pieces put together. So it's got wheels, it's got an engine, it's got a steering wheel. It's your car may have a radio inside of it. It's got seats inside of it. It's got a whole bunch of metal shaped around there. But when you really, really think about it, let's just take the car apart and, like, you take the hood off the car, you take the metal off. All that could be melted down and reshaped for some other purpose, right? The engine is finely shaped metal as well. And it's got the little pistons and stuff in there that fits in just the right way. But essentially, it's just metal. And our cars today may have some plastic and other materials in there. But when you break down all those materials, it's just that material. And you could, let's just say, the sun explodes and wipes out planet Earth, and incinerates the Earth, let's just say. I don't know that that's what would actually happen if the sun explodes. Um, Maybe some debris would be left over in chunks, I don't know. But let's just say that the Earth gets incinerated. All of that's just going to be broken down into atoms. And at some point, that's exactly what would happen anyway. Over enough time, everything will be broken down to their core atoms, whether it's a car or the table or the house. Those things we see as they are now, once they're broken down to the core atoms, you can put those atoms back together and form something completely different with the same atoms that used to be a house. You make something different. The same atoms that used to be part of a car is now something different. Same thing with our bodies, right? So my brain has, a lot of biological chemicals in it. My heart, my skin, all of those things are, there's, carbon, there's hydrogen, there's oxygen, there's a whole bunch of different chemicals. Well, at some point, my body, I'm going to die. And all of these neurons and all of these cells are going to be broken down into their individual atoms at some point. And so what is left of me, my physical me, is eventually going to wither away and die and go back into the dirt. And then eventually, over enough time, those individual atoms will be broken down and get utilized for something completely different. Okay. And so there is, in that sense, the physical me. But you sit there and say, okay, well, what about the spiritual me? And that is where we were talking about, like the subtle self. It's really hard to know what of me actually continues on from lifetime to lifetime. So it's like, in, rebirth in the Buddhist sense, there isn't a personality me that's on the inside. So the Buddha says no, that there isn't a me essence that just continues to exist with the same personality and same thought process, because a lot of that happens up here. If you have a baby with Down syndrome, it could have been a king in a previous life. The brain worked really well in one life, got a body with a brain that has certain things going on that causes Down syndrome, maybe genetics or whatever. And, and maybe in next life, the person will be a scientist. So just because somebody is a genius in this life, maybe they won't be in the next life. Or if they were, with Down syndrome in this life, maybe they were a genius in their past life. So we live a lot of lifetimes in Buddhism, and my personality, the things that I think are me, a lot of times aren't. And you may have been a man in some lifetimes, you may have been a woman in some lifetimes. There isn't really a one thing that just makes me. And so we pass from, in samsara, from lifetime to lifetime, suffering. And so that is the idea in Buddhism of that there is no essence of me. There is no self. And that right there is really, really important when we are becoming a Buddhist, because that's really what, when we are, striving for in nirvana or nibbana, whichever pronunciation you use, where we are trying to get to the point in life where we can see things and legitimately, because there is, like, I can intellectually maybe accept that and say, okay, there's no me, but I still do a lot of things where I cling to things and want things because of how I identify with that, and things that are important to me. It's like whether it's the clothing I wear, the tattoos I put on my body, or the way I do my hair, or the things that give me a sense of purpose in this life, a lot of times have to do with my sense of self. And it's a very deep, subtle, psychological thing that has to be worked out. And so as we're on that journey to seeking nibbana, when we initiate that journey, and this is where this ties in with becoming a Buddhist, we do three things, okay? And I know the chant. I don't know if it's in the original language or not. Bhutam saranam gacchami, where that means I take refuge in the Buddha, which is basically the essence of Buddhahood, not necessarily like some god or something. That might be where part of the misconception of who the Buddha was comes into. But I take refuge in the Buddha, right? And then, which, nirvana, nibbana, enlightenment, the striving. So then we have Dhammam saranam gacchami, which is the Dharma, okay, depending on the pronunciation you use. I take refuge in the Dharma, which is the teachings, the Eightfold Path, the Four Noble Truths. I take refuge in that. Sangham saranam gacchami, which is the Sangha. I take refuge in the Sangha, which is the collective. So, and that right there is the essence, is I recognize that I do not exist independently. And that might be really the essence of what the Buddha was getting at. Not that I don't exist. It's not to say that I don't exist, but that I cannot exist independently of others. And it's just like a wave. That wave of the ocean, it's one wave, okay? A part of some energy pushing through the water. But that wave cannot exist independently of the water or of the of the energy around it, the other waves that push through the water as well. The creatures, the air, everything that makes the earth, the gravity, the wave of the ocean is there. It is a wave, but it cannot exist independently of all the other factors around it. And so that's similar to us. I exist, yes. And I do need to get rid of my sense of self, become selfless. But I also have to recognize that I cannot exist independently without the rest of humanity. And so when we look at the Sangha, the people around us, the other Buddhists, the other practicing Buddhists, the people, we all exist together, and we take refuge together in each other. And that somebody else is going to give me ideas that can help produce good things that will push me towards Nirvana, and as well as maybe I will say something to help them progress towards Nirvana.